I'm interested.
We've been working on games all quarter, like we're developing our own game. And so today we brought some random people in who had never heard about our game or played it before to play it to see if it was obvious how to play and if it was fun. We need to make sure that it is easy to play and intuitive how to play. And also, is it fun? Like, are people enjoying this game? Are our goals met in terms of who enjoys the game and stuff?
Yeah, I don't really get what the white things do yet, but
Yeah, I think this level is like by far the most interesting.
Did you think there was like too many tutorial levels, like they're just showing you like building too slowly?
there might be. I'm not sure if there are too many because they're fun, right? So, and I didn't really get this feeling of like, okay, I've done this before. I more thought each one was interesting in a different way.
I don't know how necessary the tutorials are.
So like when you're jumping, you should kind of be able to go like this. Like you should get like the burst of the Y velocity and then be able to control your X velocity.
That would be preferable.
It's a capstone class, so it's all about the design and development of like a project. And so the purpose of the class is to design and develop a game. And so it's kind of less like a normal class in that we're not really listening to a lecture every day. It's more about like the actual process of designing and developing and implementing something like you would in the real world, kind of. I really like how it's more based on like the design and less just like listening to the lecture, and you get to find out stuff for your own rather than have somebody tell you, and I think that's really fun way to do it. Okay, now we're going to go to a team meeting and kind of discuss the information that we gathered today and see how we can change our game to make it better and improve upon it, and then we'll implement those changes and eventually we'll be putting it online so a much broader audience can play.
If you look at the way that sort of Mario franchises work, the way that they describe things is that there are always three simple steps. First one, you see an animation that you can't control at all. It just shows you some basic mechanic or change of mechanic that you just see in enactment of. And then the next level is this trivial thing that just lets you do exactly that new thing. And then finally that subsequent level is incorporation of that new mechanic into what you already know, into a complete level. Okay? So here, if you want people to slow down at some point, you could basically have some kind of essential slowdown playback of some particular situation that they would have as a hook to remember when the similar situation comes up in the actual game.
Our UI is pretty confusing. People were very unsure as to what our wave counter did. We were unsure as to how to upgrade towers.
So there's kind of a difference between people who have played tower defense and people who haven't. So people who haven't tried to build on the path itself.
Yeah.
Whereas people who had played tower defense already, they knew, oh, I can't build on the path, so they kind of already figured it out.
So basically here's one concept and that's all this thing is going to do. And it's going to be short as a result of that. I mean, such that people that know can go through it before getting bored, basically.
They're really excited to just think about what we could possibly do with the darkness mechanic, and so that was really good.
We knew that from the beginning, right? So your challenge, of course, and this is what we're learning in this class, is that from a great idea to a great game, there's a big chasm that needs to be bridged, right?
People would play like an entire game and not figure out what power-ups were or how to pick them up.
Well, you shouldn't have all of them at the same time, right? So have a level that just have one power up, and then you have to be incremental there, right?
Yeah, we have to do that.
The biggest thing, I think, was that people didn't find it immediately obvious to use the slow time.
besides just to get past like a turret obstacle that was
which is part
blocking
of the
their
so
path.
I think across all our playtesters is pretty much the same. They didn't really use the slow time because they didn't feel like they needed to.
The only time they really ever did was when they got to some sort of danger situation when they were completely overwhelmed, and that's
then
like,
they hit
survival response kicked in. They'd actually hit it then, but most of the time just flying through, they just completely ignore that.
And all the enemies got to the end, and our last level is like a mini boss. And so at that point, they were like, "Oh, now I have to fire." So it was interesting. It's good to know.
Really successful games are actually able to maximize across demographics.
Are there enough power users on
I think I learned a lot about kind of like user interfaces, like how to explain to a new user in a product how to use your product and stuff, and that's really important when you're making something that users are going to use. They need to know how to use it, and so that's a big lesson that we learned today.
The greatest thing about it is that you get to see the entire life cycle of a software development, and you get to work in groups, and you get to see what it's really like to build software out in the wild and to produce something that people actually use. And so that's been a really fun part of it.